Well, hey everybody, hope you are having a fantastic week. And as I always say, thanks for joining us here on our More card at theorchardcc.org. Whether you're doing that in a group or as an individual, you taking the time to invest here is hopefully a good thing for you, and it's a blessing to us. Well, as you know, we started a brand new series this past Sunday called Found, and we're spending the entire series in one chapter in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15. In that story, we're going to find, or in that chapter, we're going to find three different stories, and all three of them linked together because of an audience that Jesus was speaking to. You may have heard your campus pastor use this quote Sunday, you may not have. It's from Pastor Andy Stanley, and he made this statement in a message years ago, and it's just kind of attached to him through the years. People who were nothing like Jesus liked Jesus. And we find that throughout the gospel accounts. That is absolutely true. People who were nothing like Jesus were attracted to Him. They wanted to hear from Him. They wanted to be around Him. And chapter 15 is just a great example of that. It opens, if you were here on Sunday, you know we read this verse. It opens in chapter 15 talking about tax collectors and sinners and how they had come to hear Him. And the religious crowd, the Pharisees and scribes, were complaining that He was spending time with them. Well, the heart of this series is about people that we may know who are lost. That's the point of the three stories. People who were nothing like Jesus, people who are nothing like Jesus because of their lifestyle or reputation or whatever it may be, who are attracted to Him. And Jesus tells this story that by going to these people, or these stories, that by going to these people who are nothing like Him, they may find out that they can be different, they can be changed. And that's exactly what takes place by the time we get to the end of chapter 15. And it reminded me of another story, just a few chapters later, that is all about the same exact thing, about someone who was nothing like Jesus, who desperately wanted to meet Jesus and was completely changed when he did. So let me read the story to you. If you want to follow along, you can find the story in Luke chapter 19. Luke chapter 19, and it's a favorite of many, many people just because there's so much detail and there's so many things that we can draw from it. A song was written about it, all of those kind of things. And this is the story, Luke 19, beginning in verse number 1. He, Jesus, entered the town Jericho as he was passing through. There was a man named Zacchaeus, who was a chief tax collector, and he was very rich. He was trying to see who Jesus was, but he was not able because of the crowd, since he was a short man. So, running ahead, he climbed up a sycamore tree to see Jesus, since he was about to pass that way. When Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, because today it is necessary for me to stay at your house." So he quickly came down and welcomed him joyfully. All who saw it began to complain. Sound familiar? "He's gone to stay with a sinful man," they said. But Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Look, I'll give half of my possessions to the poor, Lord. And if I have extorted anything from anyone, I'll pay back 4 times as much." "Today, salvation has come to this house," Jesus told him, "because he too is a son of Abraham." And now listen to this, verse 10. "For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save the lost." He wants the lost to be found. That's the point. That's the stories we're telling in this series called Found. And that's the point of this story about this man named Zacchaeus. I want to just share 3 very quick things with you today and then turn you over to some questions and some discussion as you look deeper into this text. But I want to say these because as we're challenging you in this series to really look around you, to find those people who still aren't convinced or aren't connected or aren't finished in their faith. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's an acquaintance, but you know that they're struggling and they really don't have a faith background and you feel compelled to talk to them. Let these 3 things perhaps guide you into those conversations and compel you to have those conversations with the lost that you may know. Number 1, and I think this is important, try not to judge anyone based on what you know of their reputation. Now, I know this is tough. I know it is. We know stuff, we hear things. There's some mean people, some bad people in our world. But at the end of the day, the Bible puts us all into one group as human beings. Humanity, we have all sinned. We are sinners, and we have fallen short of the glory of God. We do not meet the standard. We're all the same. Now, we put degree on sin, and certainly there are different punishments for sins that result in crime and different things that happen. There are consequences that play out. But at the heart of it, sin is sin. And what we need to do is we need to be very careful that as we look at people and assess situations, that just because a person has gained a reputation, whether it's better or worse, we don't use that as a reason not to have a conversation with them about Jesus. When you hear something negative, when you know something negative, and you know that that person needs to have a conversation, or you need to have a conversation with them about God, ask God to help you to hold back judgment and show forth grace. Number 2, ask God to help you see what might take place if you do have that conversation. Think about what might change in that person's life. Think about how their life might be positively impacted if they could find the message of Christ in their hearts and that it would change their lives. Remember maybe what changed in your life. Remember how your life was changed for the good when Jesus came in and took your sins away and you began to live and follow Him. Think about what might change in those people's lives. We talk about people we love, our friends, our family, people that we care about or concerned about. Make certain that we're taking that care and concern to the point that we're linking ahead saying what might change in their life if they could meet Jesus. And then last, I would just say this very quickly today. Focus on seeking and saving the lost. Focus on that. Jesus said that was His ministry. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save the lost. Focus on that. We are surrounded by people every single day who don't know Jesus or who don't follow Jesus. And I'm convinced the very best life that we can have and they can have comes from a personal relationship with Jesus. If you know that to be true in your life, then take the time, make the effort to share how your life has been changed by Jesus with someone you know, someone you love, someone who doesn't know Him and might be impacted by the gospel message. That's what this series is about. That's what happened in Zacchaeus' life. I'll give you some more direction, some things to look further into that text in the questions below, but take some time today and spend that time thinking about all the good things that come when we follow Jesus. We'll see you next week. Have a great day.